The World Cup of Poker is back, and this time it's in the Bahamas. The ultimate team poker challenge. At stake, international bragging rights and a whole heap of cash. Poker doesn't get more exciting than this.
To see if I have the power, and the answer is yes.
6 teams of 5 are left. Each have stepped up to the final table. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the World Cup of Poker.
Hold'em can be a solitary game, but here at the Festival of Poker, 9 teams of 5 have come together to represent their national pride. The battle has been fierce, with old rivalries renewed and new ones born. Now, the contenders have been separated from the pretenders, and from those that remain, the new world champions of poker will be crowned.
The World Cup began with players from 53 countries taking part in qualifying online. 9 made their way to the Bahamas. And now we're down to the last 6. Each team is led by a legend of poker, everyone proud to represent their country, and all with a chance to win a team prize of $100,000, as well as the honor of being named the 5th holders of the World Cup of Poker. So let's see who's still in the running.
Ready to go, guys?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm proud to be part of Team Italy, and we hope to win.
I'm in a very elite company, as the captains for the teams are very well known, and I was very happy to lead the German team into the World Cup.
You know, everybody knows we're the best. We just haven't quite managed to win the World Cup of Poker yet. This time we will.
USA, number 1! Team USA, gonna go all the way again. Defending champions, we can't lose.
Hey, go follow!
I think Americans, as usual, will be a very strong team. UK, and of course us.
They may not be the biggest or the best known, but in the first 2 Poker World Cups, it was Costa Rica who took home the trophy. Poland have had their hands on the Poker World Cup before. They won the 3rd. It's America, though, who are the current holders. Both Greg Raymer and Sean Deeb featured then, too. Can they help their team retain the title? 6 teams remain in the World Cup of Poker 5. We join play with the Kiwis, represented by Wayne Lowe at the table, well on top. Elsewhere, there's not a lot to separate the other teams aside from Poland, who are very short-stacked. Your commentators are Ali Najad and Daniel Negreanu.
Thank you, Kara, as we pick up the 6-handed action. Officially a short game now, right, Daniel?
Well, yeah, when you get short-handed, what happens is the hand values go down. Now, you see this hand, not a very good one here, but on the short stack, forced really to sort of make a move and hope that he can pick up the blinds.
That is the Polish team.
Not going to do it with Jack-3 of diamonds. Well, Germany calls very quickly here.
Let's see the hands, please. Poland has 10 of diamonds, 6 of spades.
Well, Poland in big trouble with 10-6 offsuit, feeling like he had no choice on the short stack. He's ran into a bit of a hand here with ace-queen hearts, but you know what? He's still got a 32% chance to win this pot, even with a hand as bad as 10-6.
2 live cards.
Let's see the flop, please.
He's going to have to get lucky here. You can see him grinning. Ah, there's the 10. Wow. There you go. All of a sudden, Poland back in action. They could double up here if they can fade an ace-queen or running straight or running flush. It's looking good so far for Poland here. Well, the Jack of Hearts would be an action card. It's the ace.
Ouch.
Well, the Germans take the lead. Now Poland's going to need to catch a 10 or a 6 on the river. Otherwise, we're going to be down to the 5 remaining countries.
And 5 shots of vodka, if these guys are any indication.
They're not looking happy right now. A 10 or a 6 it's going to have to be, and it's not. It's a 7. So we've lost Team Poland now. Going all in with a rubbish hand, 10-6 offsuit, not the best, but at this point, you know, he just said, hey, man, I got to gamble. I got to get...
They'll walk with $31,000 or about €6.
2 years ago, Team Poland actually were the champions of the World Cup. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen this year, as they're just off the table now. Well played, guys. Really well played. It was unfortunate there at the end. And like you were just saying, if you see me at a tournament, it's never good news, is it?
Unfortunately not, but as you said, I think we played a very good poker. We made the good decisions. We had good position before the finals didn't go. Sometimes cards don't work as we wish them to work, but I think we had a lot of fun. It was a great tournament, and we hope next year maybe we can take part and maybe we can have a better score than this year.
Absolutely, and we're all sure that you guys can do it. Well done to the Polish team. We're going to go take you guys right back to the table.
Boy, I hope it's not coach class back across the Atlantic, Daniel.
In the meantime, you see the Brit here with 2 jacks on the button raising, and Sean Deeb, the young internet superstar, quickly pushing all in here, putting America's tournament hopes at risk.
Germany's going to pass.
We're going to see Sean Deeb's hand. He doesn't love it. He's up against the jacks, which calls quickly. Sean Deeb had an okay hand, ace-9 at this stage, just trying to be aggressive, attack what he considered, you know, maybe a bluff from the Brits, who have been so aggressive throughout this final table.
Yeah, he opened button.
Nothing wrong with folding that hand for Sean Deeb, though, right?
Yeah, Sean's aggressive. He wants to give his team a chance to really sort of win this thing.
We're going to need some diamonds or something.
They didn't come here to finish 4th. They came here to defend their title. But right now, the defending champions are behind with ace-9 high.
Here's the flop, king 8-9.
Okay, well, this gives the Americans a pair, so now they can only catch an ace or a 9.
10 makes a lot of difference.
But right now, the Brits in great shape to knock out the Americans. Vicky Corn loving the situation they're in right now. See Sean Deeb thinking, 9! There it is! Well, the Americans' lucky streak continues.
Yankee Doodle came to town.
Last year, they went on to win, catching cards when they needed to, and right here you see it. Now the Brits down to just 2 outs. They're going to need to catch a jack on the river. Otherwise, the Americans double up.
No jack on the end. Big break for the Americans, who were facing elimination. All smiles from team captain Greg Raymer.
You know, the rest of the teams can't like to see that. The Americans, defending champions, doubling up right here. They would have much preferred seeing those guys out of here.
We'll see how Carl Marinholtz holds it together, the man who describes his game as absolute granite.
Welcome back to Atlantis on Paradise Island in the Bahamas, where the World Cup of Poker is reaching fever pitch. Greg Raymer's Team USA have taken the chip lead after crippling Vicky Corn's Team GB just before the break. There's been a change of players at the table. Time to rejoin the commentators.
Blinds at $1,500 and $3,000 with a $300 ante. Relentlessly expensive poker now for our 5 remaining players.
Well, and with that win, the Americans are now back in front. They have a slim lead.
New core of players at the table, including Nicholas Webb from New Zealand.
Action now on, well, there's an ace for the Brits, and boom, they're going to stick it all in right here.
I don't even think he looked at the second card,
You know what? Doesn't really need to. With just 10,000 in chips, doesn't matter if he has a deuce, 3, 5. He has to make this aggressive play.
Doesn't matter, I can fold.
And he's got ace-6, as we can see now. Certainly a hand he has to play.
Uh-oh, ace-7 for the Germans.
Well, now, this isn't a very strong hand either to call an all-in bet. But because the bet is so small, you see the German making the call, and he's actually got the best hand by just 1 pip. 7 higher than the 6, obviously. Well, the Italians should be able to get away here with the king 5, since the Germans have already said, don't worry about it, we'll take care of them. But he's thinking about it. You know why? Because the price might be right. There's a lot of chips already out there. He's in the big blind. King 5, not a great hand, but he actually does have 2 live cards in this situation.
6,600 to call.
Well, looks like he's actually thinking about it. Nah. He says, you know what? My teammates would hate me for throwing off these chips. I'm going to throw it away.
He's probably right.
So, Great Britain now all in on the short stack. with the worst hand. But you know what? Hand like this, ace-7, ace-6, there's a lot of boards that can come out where they might split the pot. Of course, the ideal card for Great Britain is that 6. But if they don't, you know, they could always split it possibly.
Here is the flop.
Flop is
10-9 jack with a couple of diamonds.
Well, this looks like it could very well be a split pot. Anything like a king, a king, a queen, the board pairing, and this would be a split pot. So it's very likely that they'll get away tying this hand. Oh, uh-oh.
Well, neither player has a diamond.
Well, the ace-7, the 7 still plays. For the Germans to knock out the Brits, they need a smaller card than a 6, a deuce, 3, or a 5. Of course, a 7, they'd win it to an 8, makes them a straight.
They're going to be eliminated in 5th place.
A few outs there to knock out the Brits. Vicky's just sweating one more card. And it's a 4. It's going to be a split pot. As I said, very likely in a situation where you have an ace versus an ace and the other card is very, very small.
New lease on life for the Brits.
Well, that was to be expected there. After that flop, more often than not, it's going to be a split pot. So they're thinking, phew, one more chance.
No, not those either. So it's a good laydown.
They made the right move, moving all in with the ace. No choice when you're on the short stack.
A lot of times, more than half the times.
Great Britain under the gun.
Blinds at 1,500 and 3,000 still with a $300 ante. Lawrence Houghton moving all in. Great Britain on the short stack, of course.
Well, with just 11,000 in chips, pretty much anything playable is good enough to go all in with. He's going to hope here to just pick up the blinds and get no callers. And if he does, he's going to have to get lucky, maybe win a race, and get the Brits back in action. They were doing so well throughout most of this final table with the aggressive style. But at this point, they're really just going to need to get cards going their way, you know, win some key coin flips. We see the Italian now considering. It's not that big of a bet, just a total of 11,500. Well, he's looking at the chips thinking,
Contemplative look on Fabrizio's face, but he'll settle with a muck.
So far,
Ace of Diamonds, Queen of Spades.
well, Great Britain actually has a hand here. They've got ace, queen, so a very good hand to go all in with on the short stack.
In the lead at the moment. They're also the all-in team.
They are all in for their tournament life right here, up against the Kiwis, who've got King 5. Again, King 5, not a great hand, but pretty much forced in by the fact they were the big blind and they were facing such a small bet. Oh boy. And there you see New Zealand taking the lead now. They've flopped the 2 5s. Vicky can't like that. Right now, Great Britain going to have to catch an ace, a queen, or some kind of running pair like 9-9. Not looking good right now for the Brits. There's a 9. One more. I mean, I called the 9. Maybe another 9 will come. Who knows? It's going to have to be an ace, queen, or a 9 now, or Vicky Corin and her team will be eliminated from the World Cup of Poker.
Ace of clubs on the end.
Phew! Just in time. Well, he went all in with the best hand with the ace-queen. You know, you can't fault Webb for calling with King 5 on a short stack situation, but a little lucky there, you know. Hey, hit the ace on the river. It was almost over for the Brit.
Great Britain has had a real roller coaster here today. Now, obviously, watching you and your reaction, do you think he's doing exactly the right thing there at the table with the shoving? The size of his stack kind of dictates it, right?
Well, the only mistake he made is I did say to him before he goes in not to put his money in with the best of it. That's right. I mean, that's my only fault with the ace-queen. The problem was there was a risk that he would be in front when the money went in and then we'd have no chance. But then miraculously, he's won the pot anyway, and of course, he knows exactly what to do. He's doing it.
Italy under the gun.
Emotional roller coaster for team captain Vicky Corin.
She seems very confident having Lawrence in there. Lawrence has been very aggressive throughout this whole final table. He knows that when you're on the short stack, sometimes you just got to gamble. Well, it's on the Italians. He's got King 10 here right now. No, he's really just agonizing over not making a mistake and maybe on the, playing a little conservatively.
Little 2-10s perhaps.
Well, here we go.
One trick pony, huh?
10 big blinds, what can you do?
Lawrence saying, you know, hey, man, I got 10 big blinds. I got to go all in. Sort of giving away something. But he's got a decent hand in this situation. Uh-oh. Insta-call there. He's got called immediately from the German.
Yep, waking up with ace-jack.
This time he's climbing uphill. This time he's really in bad shape here because he's going to have to catch a flush or he's going to have to catch that 6. Ace-jack, considerable favorite. As you can see, 69%. Not looking good for Vicky Cloran here. Can't fault the play, moving all in with ace-6 of hearts. And there's an ace, but that jack kicker is very important now.
Germany's in the lead with a jack kicker.
Well in front with that kicker.
Brits pulling for a 6 on the turn here.
So 4, so down to just 1 card for the Brits, and it's going to have to be a 6. Otherwise, Vicky Cloran and the rest of the team will be eliminated. Germans will take the chip lead if they win this pot. And they do.
Well, they did their best, did the Brits, and a disappointed Vicky Cloran offers up her applause to young Lawrence Houghton.
Well, one thing you can say about the British team is that they certainly went out with a fight. They didn't fold their way to this position. They really went for the win. It was all guns ablaze, going for the #1 spot. So see the Germans now really starting to pick up some momentum and a little cheer. Schland. They taught me that earlier. They don't say Deutschland, it's just like a shorter version. Schland.
Ah, I see.
18:30. 18:30, thank you. Can I have a timeout, please?
The World Cup of Poker. It's a team game. And an innovative one at that, because the team captains have a few tricks up their sleeves. They can call for a timeout. And use it for whatever they please. Some tactics, perhaps?
I'm thinking these ones who are lower than 25 are going to just move.
Or maybe just a morale-boosting drink.
Go free, go Polo!
And there's another innovation, too. The captains submitted their rosters. That's the order that their team would be coming to the table at the start of play.
This is the list of victory.
But twice in the tourney, they're allowed to make a substitution to get a more experienced player in, to get a player in who suits the game situation, or perhaps to rescue a player who feels like they're out of their depth.
Basically, the guy that was sitting before the substitution asked for the timeout, and he said that he would feel more comfortable if somebody else would join, because now the table is short and the game is very different. Okay. So if he doesn't feel that comfortable like before. So we were just deciding if I was going to join the table or the other guy that now is sitting, because we both have a lot of experience in short-handed. I think that was a quite good suggestion by my teammate, so we'll see.
Just 4 teams remain in the World Cup of Poker. Italy, Germany, the United States, and New Zealand.
They've got Greg Raymer in there now for the Americans, the defending champions.
A couple of 7s in his hand.
Hoping to have their captain finish the job with a pair of 7s here, looking to pick up the blinds.
Queen-Jack offsuit for the Germans.
You know, four-handed, a hand like Queen-Jack offsuit looks a lot better than when there's 9 players seated at the table.
On the button, no less.
Especially with the button here. The Germans, they are the chip leaders. They're certainly not going to let Greg Raymer just kind of run amok and let him steal all the blinds without putting up a fight. And so he's definitely going to call here with the Queen-Jack, as you see.
Back to New Zealand.
And now the New Zealanders have a hand as well. Ace-Jack in the big blind. You expect at least a call here and possibly what's called a squeeze play. Squeeze play is when you have a raise, a call, and another player comes over the top with a bigger re-raise to try to steal what's there.
Let's see what Nicholas Webb opts for here.
Looks like he's considering a re-raise. All in! The whole enchilada here. He's sticking it all in with the ace-jack.
Almost got there.
If Greg Raymer calls, you'd expect the German to go out, so you'd have what's called a coin flip situation. 2 overcards versus a pair.
Like over 50,000 there for the range.
And the Americans do have the Kiwis covered at this point.
You know, Greg Raymer is actually asking for a count right now. He wants a ballpark figure on how many chips it's going to require to call. They are both relatively close, the Americans and the Kiwis. So if Raymer makes this call, he's going to put the U.S. at risk as well. So it's a very delicate situation, something he's really got to think about before making this call. he's got the instinct that, you know what, I think this guy's making a move. I think I have the best hand here. The problem with a hand like sevens is even if a guy's making a move, you know, he might even have a hand like king-9 offsuit. And even then, it's a pretty close situation. So very, very risky to make this call. I would bet my money that Raymer's going to throw this away based on previous hands we've seen him play here at the final table.
He got away from a couple of 9s.
Plus, he's got one other situation to worry about. Not too much, but, you know, you never know. The German might be slow playing a hand like aces or kings, so...
USA's going to pass.
And I think Raymer makes a good fold there, as does the German. A good aggressive play there for the Kiwis, really pushing the envelope, going after that dead money, picking up the pot without a fight. Very well played. Aggressive move paid off there.
The American captain's going to wait for a better spot.
So Germany hold on to the chip lead, but New Zealand move above the USA after that hand. Only 1,000 between them, though. Italy drops down to 65,000, and last place. They need to get busy.
Blinds at 1,500 and 3,000 with a $300 ante.
Just 4 countries remain. Of course, the defending champion still there, led by team captain Greg Raymer.
Beards just make you look smarter, don't they, Daniel?
Well, you know what?
Italy's going to raise to 6,000.
I like the play, so far so good. I mean, I think in this situation with Queen 8 suited, again, it's not a great hand, but when you're just four-handed, you have to be aggressive. And the Italians are coming in with a raise to attack those blinds.
Couple of 4s for New Zealand here.
These are tough hands to play.
Total.
So he's going to re-raise here with just 2 4s. The thing about a hand like 4s is you really don't want to get played with. If you hear all in, you're going to go, uh-oh, because in a situation like that, you're either up against a bigger pair or a hand like ace-king suited. I don't see Raymer getting away here.
And this could very well be an all-in from Raymer, couldn't it?
I think what you're going to see Greg Raymer do here is likely decide to make the aggressive move and maybe go all in here to try and really sort of seize the lead for the Americans. And he's doing that. Well, what Raymer's hoping to do now is to push the Kiwi web off of his hand. The 2 4s are in front, but as you can see, it's as marginal as can be, 51 to 49. It's the, you know, classic coin flip, ace-king suited against 2 4s. Now, how do you like your 4s? This is one of the reasons I don't love this play with 4s, with the re-raising and stuff like that, because you put yourself in spots where you're like, uh-oh, time to guess.
And these are 2 virtually identical stacks to start the hand.
And Raymer does show his hand. He shows the ace-king suited. Now Webb has to wonder, oh, man. See, I could have called and I could have knocked him out in the coin flip.
Well, when you laid it down that fast, I knew you made a good fold. You didn't agonize, you know. That wasn't an insta-fold jacks or anything. No.
The Americans back in contention.
Greg Raymer regains the initiative and puts some pressure on Germany with that pot, and it's now New Zealand and Italy battling it out at the foot of our leaderboard. After that hand, there was a level change. New Zealand captain Lee Nelson called a timeout and made a substitution to get Richard Grace, his second most experienced player, some more table time.
You can do a good job, and also you guys earned it, so you should win.
As scheduled, Sean Deeb replaced Greg Raymer at the table for the USA. Michel Migliori continued for Italy, while it was George Geisler who took his turn for Germany.
So, 4 new members of each team at this table here.
Migliore, 51-year-old, native of Palermo, Italy, a neuroscientist, Daniel.
See, he is smart.
Sean says call from the big blind.
Sean quickly calls now from the big blind.
2 spades, king of clubs.
2 kings.
Is that what the timer was? To tell him to get kings in the small blind?
Jeffrey.
So here we see New Zealand well in front with 2 kings. Sean Deeb kind of speculating here with a queen jack, you know, hoping he was maybe in a race situation, but as you can see, well behind there.
Richard Grace, just 26 years of age, makes his home in Wellington, New Zealand.
Right now, 87% chance those kings will hold up. Sean Deeb's going to need a lot of help here. And that's not going to do it. Virtually over is this hand. The Americans would have to catch perfect runner-runner cards to win this pot. And you can see Sean Deeb's already thinking, okay, how much do we owe you? Oh, boy. And that'll do it right there.
All right, give me a cup.
Turn card cinches the hand for the Kiwis. They're going to double up and put a real big dent into the American stack. Happy to be alive. It's got to be nerve-wracking, and you just get nervous at this point. You know, you have kings against queen jack. You're thinking, just don't do anything stupid, deck. Please, just break even. Don't do anything crazy. And in this hand, there was no sweat. It was just boom, done by the turn.
Welcome back to the Atlantis Resort in the Bahamas, where Team Germany are leading the way with Team USA in hot pursuit. Italy and New Zealand make up the remaining 4 as our quest to find the latest World Cup of Poker champions draws nearer to conclusion.
Blinds at 2 and 4,000 with a $400 ante. German George Geisler will be first to act.
Well, with the blinds as high as they are now, and short-handed, expect to see some fast-paced action with a lot of aggressive moves.
Ace-deuce offsuit for the Italians.
Well, surprising there with an ace on the button, he decides, I can wait for something better.
Is that a mistake, Daniel?
Well, I don't know. Actually, as it turns out, you know, he's got a short-stacked Kiwi right there who's decided to be aggressive, so he says, you know what, I'm going to stay out of the way. Sean Deeb, of course, in the big blind makes the immediate call there with pocket nines.
Yeah.
You can't fault either player for making their plays here.
This I don't make you sweat.
King 6 needs to get lucky here. 2 nines well in front.
Is this another open shove that you call?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's see the flop, please.
Hey, if Lee agrees with my queen jack call, it's all that matters.
King of diamond comes.
There's a king.
That's a bad flop.
Yeah, you could say so. 2 pair there. Lee Nelson giggling about it. Sean Deeb praying and calling for cards. You might want to start with just the 9, because that's what you're going to need to win this spot.
Yep, no other way for the Americans to eliminate the Kiwis in this pot. Ace of hearts isn't going to cut it.
King of diamonds, baby.
Just a 5% shot now for the U.S.
Well, nothing Sean Deeb did wrong here. Has to make the call with the 9s. Was unlucky, and nope. Not going to catch in the river, so a double up there for Lee Nelson and Team New Zealand.
It's not pretty, but I'll take it.
Well, you can see there, not necessarily proud of the King 6, but hey, a double up's a double up. And you can see there Greg Raymer, just despondent about the fact that the 9s went down. Sean Deeb, hey man, nothing you could do.
I was feeling lucky too.
Blinds at 2 and 4,000 with a $400 ante.
All in.
The United States announces all
Sean
in.
Deeb now on the short stack, which is 44,000, deciding to move all in. And look at this. He's got pocket 9s again. The same
deck.
ones. The same 9s he just lost with to a King 6. And he's been called. He's been called by his nemesis right here, who's got ace-8, a great situation once again for Sean Deeb now.
I am as big as a favorite.
Well in front, just 1 overcard for Grace.
Ace of diamonds?
Oh, hard.
You should
A little
have
bit of a risky call there with ace-8.
Went to suit. Then you could have had the backdoor flush draw if you called that.
So Sean Deeb going over all the possible ways he could lose this.
Let's see the flop, please.
Should be thinking positive here. He is the favorite.
Oh my goodness, there's one that he didn't mention, but 8-8 gives Grace 3 8s, and now Sean Deeb and the Americans on the verge of elimination. Well, you can see them kind of giggling as in, you know what, nothing you could have done differently.
Absolutely not.
Luck clearly not on Sean Deeb and the American side the last couple hands here. Things just have gone from bad to worse now. Just 1 card remaining.
And they're facing elimination here.
Just a 9 for the Americans. It's going to have to be a 9. Otherwise, we'll be down to 3.
4 of hearts is going to seal the Americans' fate. We will have a new champion of the World Cup of Poker this year as the defending champs say goodbye.
Well, and New Zealand with that pot now, they become a real threat. And not too long ago, they were short stacked, ran it through the Americans twice, eliminated them, and we're going to have an exciting final 3. 3 different types of teams, different styles, different approaches. Should be interesting to watch how it meshes together.
So just 3 teams remain. Greg Raymer's defending World Cup of Poker champions are out, and New Zealand have a commanding chip lead. Richard Grace will continue for the leaders. Team captains Luca Pagano and Jan Heitman come to the table. Join us after the break to see how they get on.
Welcome back to Paradise Island in the Bahamas, host to the World Cup of Poker.
In the last 2 soccer World Cups, we got 3rd and 2nd, so we're due for one. On paper, we're probably not one of the favorites in this tournament. There's some very, very strong teams, but the motivation is so high that I have absolute confidence in my team.
Well, if synchronized leaping was the event, I'd give them the gold, that's for sure.
Much more fun.
That looked pretty good.
There you go.
You know, while he says that the Germans may not have been the favorites going in, I think that he was looking at maybe some of the other teams as being the powerhouses and maybe not as afraid of the 2 remaining. So I bet you he's feeling pretty good about the Germans' chances right now.
And Luca Pagano is feeling pretty good about his Queen Jack suited. He's just shipped 62,500 and all of the Italians' hopes into the pot.
New Zealand passes.
So now it's going to be on Jan, who's got a small pair and quickly calls. So we're going to have a coin flip situation. This is about as close to 50-50 as you're ever going to see here. As you can see there, 51-49 for the Queen Jack.
Don't fire up the espresso machine just yet.
Very close hand here.
Italy has Queen Jack suited in spades. Germany has
One time.
with pocket fives red.
You cannot win the World Cup of Poker unless you take some risks, and both players here looking to win themselves a big pot.
Started the day.
Oh, what a huge flop for the Italians. Top pair.
You can't ask for much better than that. He's got the queens. He's also got a straight draw. Gets an 8 or a king to pretty much cinch it.
Germans do not have a club, neither do the Italians, incidentally.
Ooh, close. He thought for a second, wait a minute. No,
Getting closer.
not quite. It's going to have to be a 5 now for the Germans. Otherwise, the Italians will double up here. It's a king for the straight, so Luca Pagano and the Italian team have just doubled up. Got a little pep in their step, doing a little cheering. A song named after Luca Pagano. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't think that one's going triple platinum anytime soon.
Well, the Germans, once a real force as the leaders, have just taken a really big hit and are now sitting on the short stack and really need to make a move in a hurry.
What are the mental effects of losing a race like that, Daniel?
It's tough. I mean, it's not to say that he necessarily made a mistake, but now he's so limited in what he can do. He pretty much has to find anything playable, stick all his chips in, and hope to just sort of get back in the game.
You look at?
Well, Jan Heitman
He raised all in.
will put all his bullets into the pot.
Go. 24.
19,000 more. Luca says call.
One time.
Ah, damn it.
And a quick call there from Luca Pagano. An ace high is more than good enough against the short Jan Heitman, who could have any 2 random cards. So actually, as it turns out, with just a pair of 3s, usually you'd think, this is going to be a coin flip situation. But instead, Luca actually has a deuce in his hand, so the 3s well in front. As you can see, they're almost 70% to win the pot.
The Italians hoping for an ace here. Instead, it's King 8-8.
Ooh, that presents some different kind of danger for Heitman now, because if the board pairs again with the king, kings and 8s, with an ace high, would counterfeit the small pair.
The 2 of diamonds, please, just to make it really interesting.
Jan is asking for the 2 of diamonds.
Jan looking for an action card. I don't think he really means it, though.
Or the king.
He'd rather see a 3 and wrap this thing up, no doubt.
I take the queen.
Okay, so it's a diamond. Now this gives Luca Pagano and the Italians additional
I'm
outs.
asking for the 7 of spades, if that's all
Jan is
right.
now asking
Any
for the 7 of
diamond,
spades.
any king,
Germany, in order to double through,
any
needs to
4,
dodge a 4,
or any ace,
king,
and he's going to win this
another
pot.
diamond, or the ace.
That's easy.
Lots and lots of outs here.
Can the Italians send the Germans packing here on the river?
7 of spades.
Nope.
Right there.
There we go. Not dead yet. They lost that big flip to the Italians with 5s against Queen Jack, but get some of it back right here, doubling up with 3s against Ace Deuce.
For the Italians, a bit of a rebate to the Germans, who are taking a step in the right direction.
I just wanted to see if I have the power, and the answer is yes. Does help.
Daniel, before the break, the Italians held a commanding lead over the Germans, despite having doubled them up, and now a bit of reversal of fortune here, as Jan Heitmann and the Germans have regained the chip lead, and the Italians are in second place, with the Kiwis not far behind.
It's all very close and literally is anybody's ball game at this point.
Oh my God.
Jeez, you wanted to see a flop.
Heitmann deciding to just limp in from the button here with a fun hand, 7-8 of clubs. Possibly fearing that if he raises, somebody might move all in, forcing him to fold. So he really just wants to see a flop. Luca's going to complete the small blind with 8-5. So we're going to actually have a flop here.
Go 3 ways to the flop.
Their man, Richard Grace, checks out of the big blind.
As you see Heitmann's hand there. 35%, but because he has position, he's actually got even more of an advantage if he just bets the flop when both players miss.
Take a look at the flop. 2 players make top pair.
Well, this could be trouble for the Italians. Luca Pagano flops top pair of 8s. He's got a 5 kicker, of course. Heitmann has pair of 8s with a 7 kicker.
And the Kiwis have a gut shot straight draw, but they'll check out of this hand.
Luca's bet the flop here. Question is, how will Heitmann play it? If he raises, Luca might put him on some kind of a draw. There are 2 hearts on board, a couple potential straight draws like 5-6.
In comes the raise from the Germans here.
Well, Heitmann wants to defend his pair, and Luca, without very much hesitation, says, you know what, I've got top pair, time to gamble, let's do it. Okay, so some a little frustration there from Luca. He's like, I'm out-kicked here, this is not good. But you know what, they're not completely dead. Luca has a heart in his hand. He's got a 5 for some backdoor straight and flush cards. But so far, you have to give the big advantage here to the Germans to potentially eliminate Luca Pagano and take this heads up. So king on the turn. There's a couple split outs, a 4 or a deuce, and these players would split the pot. But Luca really wants to catch that 5. That would be the nail in the coffin, really, and just put the Germans back on the short stack and give the Italians a lead.
3 outs, and they cannot connect. 3 8s. Wow.
3 8s with a king and a 7 kicker beat 3 8s with a king and a 5 kicker. It doesn't get much closer than that. Oh, gotta be disappointed there. Luca Pagano feeling like, man, what was I supposed to do? And now the Germans have a very big lead in this heads-up match.
I'd say.
The Italians left to send text updates from the sidelines while the Kiwis get set to do battle with the Germans.
I've only got like 85, so he's got the rest.
So it's heads-up time at the 5th World Cup of Poker. Germany's captain Jan Heitmann has an enormous chip lead over Richard Grace, who's at the table for New Zealand. One of these 2 teams will be crowned the next world champions of poker.
All right, our heads-up players at this point in time are from New Zealand, Richard Grace, and from Germany, Jan Heitmann. Let's have a round of applause for our heads-up
Good playing with you, though. Yeah, for sure, man. It's been fun.
Well, Grace does have the height advantage, but when it comes to poker, it doesn't necessarily.
Not a full contact sport.
No,
not yet.
Yeah. The German has their captain going for them. They have to like the situation with the chip lead, as you can see, about 232 to about 86. This could be over quickly if both players catch something. Heitmann with the queen 8. He'll act first on the button. When your head's up, that's how it works.
And the captain's going to put in a raise.
Quick call. Heitmann essentially moving all in with the queen 8.
How can you do this to me?
Heitmann wanting to just steal that blind, but Grace makes the quick call. So we got queen 8 for Heitmann, but queen 9 of clubs for Grace.
That's a pretty liberal call from the Kiwis, isn't it?
Well, you know what? He figures he's got to gamble. They're on the short stack. It's time to make a move here. So he's well in front with queen 9.
Might be.
Okay. Another possible split pot here. If a 7 comes, they both have queen high.
With a heart in their hand.
For the Germans to win, they'd need to catch an 8 or running hearts. Well, there's the 8 of hearts.
Wow.
What a killer card. That takes away a couple of the 9 outs now for Grace. For Grace to stay alive, he would need to catch a 9 that is not a heart. Otherwise, the captain, Jan Heitmann, of the German team, is going to win the World Cup.
Look at those percentages. The Kiwis are on the ropes here. Can they connect? Yes!
It's a 9
of flush card.
Incredible. They hit the 9, but it's the 9 of hearts. So the Germans win the World Cup of Poker in exciting fashion, coming from behind that last hand. Kudos to both teams. I thought they both played really well to get where they did.
Wow.
So the Germans came in not necessarily feeling like the favorites, but anything can happen in a poker game, and when you're determined, you take the time out, you sort of build your team up, you work as a team, results happen.
Well, for all those disappointed soccer and football fans out in Germany over the last couple of World Cups, take pride in your 2009 German World Cup of Poker Championship side.
There we hear the chant. It was a long, hard-fought battle to beat some really tough teams, including mine, We had a good team, just weren't very lucky.
Yeah, I forgot you guys were even in it, Daniel.
And it's the new world champions of poker. Well done to Team Germany. Now, you guys started very first hand of the final with quad 5s, and you finished off in an amazing way. You must be very proud of your team.
Absolutely. This has been a great experience. It was a really good tournament, a lot of fun, and the team played absolutely fantastic. We got a little bit lucky along the way sometimes, but I think overall we played very, very good poker.
Yeah, and you know what? I got to say that watching you as a team as well, you all seemed very together and you seem to have a lot of energy. And I mean, it's been a long day. You've all done very well. You must be a little bit tired, but very excited.
Well, we are very excited, of course. We are also very tired because especially these two gentlemen have to get up very early for a long, long day tomorrow. So, but
yes, of
maybe
course.
we can enjoy a little bit the sun here and relax.
Well, you should. And Team Germany has won $100,000 and some very lovely trophies. So let's give a big congratulations to Team Germany, the new World Cup of Poker champions. Well done. Well done.
Yeah. It's day 2 of the PCA main event next for Jan Heitmann and Malte Strothmann then, but they'll have sweet dreams of Germany's World Cup triumph to get them to sleep. Brave New Zealand deserves special mention for their 2nd place, and what an achievement by newcomers Latvia too. A dramatic end to a tournament with excitement all the way through. What a way to start the Festival of Poker in the Bahamas.